Marcus Williams entered elegance for a quiet evening, but faced humiliation from manager Thomas, driven by prejudice, unaware Marcus was the owner's brother. Benjamin, at the entrance, reacted with anger, his words breaking the silence. What followed stunned even the most seasoned observers. Marcus Williams, towering and confident, made his way into the Elegance restaurant, a place where prestige was as tangible as the chandeliers that hung from its vaulted ceiling. His dark, neatly pressed suit fit him impeccably, accentuating his broad shoulders and athletic frame. A slim black tie lay smoothly over a crisp white shirt, completing his look of quiet sophistication. The soft golden lighting highlighted his skin, and his deep-set, thoughtful eyes hinted at a life full of challenges and victories. The gentle buzz of conversation filled the room, blending with the soft notes of a classical melody playing in the background. Elegance was more than just a restaurant. It was a symbol of affluence and taste, where mirrors framed in gilded edges created an illusion of endless space, and elevated ceilings sparkled under the glow of crystal chandeliers. Guests sat around circular tables covered with pristine white cloths, dressed in gowns and tailored suits, exchanging quiet words and measured laughs. Standing at the entrance was Thomas Wilkins, the manager known for his strict adherence to protocol. His tall, lean frame was accentuated by his perfectly tailored suit, and his pale blonde hair, swept back neatly, gave him an air of control and discipline. Although he appeared courteous at first, those who worked closely with him knew of his inherent prejudice, masked behind a veneer of professionalism. His gaze fell on Marcus, and a subtle but unmistakable shift darkened his expression. Recognition sparked in Thomas's eyes. He knew Marcus from television, but didn't fully comprehend the man's stature or connections. As Marcus walked further into the dining area, Thomas moved with practiced precision, stepping in front of him with a poised, authoritative stance. The room seemed to hold its breath as Thomas, lips drawn into a thin line, spoke coldly. "Excuse me, but you need to vacate the table," he said, with a tone that left no room for misunderstanding. The casual chatter of the guests faltered, the background music suddenly becoming the only sound cutting through the thick tension. Faces turned discreetly, while others maintained a facade of ignoring the scene, their curiosity palpable. Marcus's gaze lifted slowly, meeting Thomas's sharp steel-gray eyes. He maintained a composed silence for a few moments, allowing the weight of anticipation to build in the room. When he finally spoke, his voice was steady and controlled, layered with an undertone of calm power. "Why? I just sat down," he said, his words simple yet imbued with an authority that belied his calm exterior. Despite the simmering anger beneath the surface, Marcus remained outwardly composed. He was no stranger to such moments, knowing that measured responses carried more impact than flaring tempers. The tension was palpable, a silent battle of wills between the manager, used to exerting his control, and Marcus, who embodied resilience and self-assured defiance. Thomas's gaze remained cold as he doubled down. "This restaurant is always full, and today we only have space for our regular clients," he stated, a thinly veiled insult coating his words. He glanced around, his eyes flitting over the tables as if seeking silent approval, but the other patrons avoided his gaze, their expressions a mix of surprise and unease. The silence became suffocating, every small noise amplified as if carrying meaning. Marcus's eyes narrowed, his jaw tightening imperceptibly, but he stood composed, refusing to let emotion betray him. He'd endured moments like this before, and knew that responding impulsively would only validate the prejudice against him. Just then, a figure at the entrance caught his attention. Benjamin, tall, commanding, with jet-black hair and sharp, intelligent eyes, entered the room. The air shifted as his presence resonated with quiet authority, drawing every gaze. Benjamin's reputation preceded him. Owner of the entire Elegance chain, he was not only a successful businessman, but a man known for his principles and integrity. He had built his name on fairness, and fiercely opposed discrimination in any form. Though he seldom used his influence for show, seeing his brother subjected to such disdain was a line he would not ignore. He had entered quietly, expecting to join Marcus for an evening away from the public eye. Yet, witnessing this exchange, his patience dissolved instantly. Thomas, oblivious to who had just stepped in, delivered his final biting comment. "I'm sure you'll find a place more suited to your level," he said, his tone laden with condescension. The room collectively stiffened. Some patrons looked away, their faces straining to maintain a semblance of decorum, while others stared, shocked by the audacity. Marcus stood resolute, but the tension coiled tightly within him. It was Benjamin who broke the silence, stepping forward with deliberate poise, his dark eyes gleaming with restrained anger. His presence commanded immediate respect. Whispers died out, and all eyes turned toward him, as the room fell into an even heavier silence, charged like the air before a storm. "Enough!" Benjamin's voice cut through the air like a thunderclap, making the entire room turn in unison. Thomas, who moments earlier had basked in a false sense of authority, froze. His eyes widened with shock, his face drained of color, and his lips quivered as recognition dawned, fear gripping his chest. "Do you even know who you're speaking to?" Benjamin said as he stepped closer, locking his eyes on Thomas, who now seemed smaller, his gaze flickering between panic and shame. The tension in the room thickened as everyone waited, breath held. Thomas's hands trembled, a telltale sign of his sudden vulnerability, but no words would come. They stuck in his throat. "This man is my brother, and your superior," Benjamin said, his voice calm yet carrying a weight that made each word sting. A murmur rippled through the room as the guests processed this revelation, some exchanging looks of surprise, others with newfound respect. The oppressive tension shifted. Now it was a tide of condemnation directed at Thomas. Marcus stood up slowly, meeting Benjamin's eyes with a look of gratitude and solidarity. The flicker of appreciation was clear, though his expression held firm. Marcus took a deep breath and addressed the room. "Tonight's incident is a reminder that we still have a long way to go. This isn't just about racial discrimination, it's about choosing to act when we witness injustice." His words resonated throughout the space, touching even the silent onlookers. A few nodded in agreement, others averted their eyes, feeling the weight of their complicity. The change in the atmosphere was tangible. Where there was silence, now there was quiet reckoning. Thomas stood with slumped shoulders, his pride shattered, replaced by an unmistakable mix of embarrassment and dread. That evening, a video taken by one of the guests spread across social media like wildfire. The footage, capturing the humiliating exchange and Benjamin's powerful intervention, sparked an immediate outcry. Comments flooded in, expressing outrage at Thomas's actions and support for Marcus and Benjamin. Headlines such as "Racism in an upscale restaurant, manager fired after scandal" quickly circulated alongside the clip. The reaction was so overwhelming that within hours, the Elegance restaurant issued an official statement denouncing all forms of discrimination and confirming Thomas's dismissal. Benjamin, now hailed as a figure of integrity and leadership, recognized the moment as an opportunity to promote deeper social change. With the spotlight on him, he launched an initiative to raise awareness about racial discrimination within the service industry. He introduced a series of comprehensive training seminars for hospitality workers, focusing on equity, respect, and cultural understanding. The campaign garnered swift support from activists, nonprofit organizations, and industry leaders who saw this event as a turning point to combat systemic issues in the field. Marcus, who had long preferred a life away from public scrutiny, felt a new sense of moral satisfaction. For years he had remained silent, handling similar situations with quiet resilience. Now he understood the power of speaking up. His story resonated far beyond the restaurant's walls, spreading to communities across the country and inspiring people to share their own experiences. Messages of solidarity poured in from friends, family, and even strangers who were moved by his grace and determination. They reminded him that indifference could no longer be accepted and that collective awareness was a powerful tool for pursuing justice. The incident transformed Marcus's life, shifting him from being a quiet observer to an active advocate. The support around him reinforced that standing up against injustice was not only necessary, but also influential. Society began to engage more deeply in conversations about the importance of respect, equity, and the courage to intervene. Marcos embraced his new role, realizing that he could use his voice to encourage others and inspire action. He became a reminder that while change may start with a single moment, it is sustained by those willing to continue the fight for fairness and justice. The event not only shifted perspectives, but also solidified a shared understanding that fighting for what is right is worth every effort.